Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take the second half of the show to take live questions from people watching the show live. However, what if you're one of those people who watches the show one of the other 22 hours during the day? Well, good news. If you want to get a comment, question, thought, or opinion read on one of our shows, like Mailbag, you can simply use the tip link that's down in the description of this video and click on that there, or you can enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on Mailbag if we deem your comment or question to be appropriate to be used on the show. And of course, you'll be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Now, before we get started on today's Mailbag, I should let you know, and this always happens when a big Marvel movie comes out or a big DC movie or whatever, but I had to remove a number of the questions out of Mailbag and that are not going to be read on the show, unfortunately. Like I said, we always preface this by saying, you know, if we deem your comment or question to be appropriate for the show, a number of you guys sent in very spoilery heavy questions. Like even your questions contain spoilers in them for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And so unfortunately, there were a number of questions we had to remove. Come on, guys, you should know better at this point. But we did have to take a couple of the questions out. Just want to make sure I mentioned that right up front. Okay, with that down, let's get into the questions that did come through here. And we're going to get things started here with a question that comes to us from Krogs. And Krogs writes, now that you've seen the new Doctor Strange film, are you able to tell us what the picture is that you've seen back with the Spider-Man leaked photos? Please tell us during spoiler review if you can. I can tell you that the images, so for those of you who don't know, like when I got those Spider-Man images, there was a couple of others too, right? And I was getting ready to post those other ones as well when I found out that the other Spider-Man, when I found out that the pictures were actually legitimate. Once I found out that the pictures were legitimate, I obviously didn't post the new ones or the other ones that I had. What I did find out though, was that the pictures we didn't post was not in Spider-Man No Way Homes, because we went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home and Robert and I were like, those other pictures weren't in there. That means they're to something else. And I said I will let people know what those pictures are once they come out in the Marvel property, but Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was not it. We know which one it's going to be now, and I'm not going to mention which one it's going to be, but once it actually comes out, then we will let people know, hey, you know that part? That was the image that we saw, but it wasn't from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'll let you know when I can, Krogs. All right, next up. Orange Hand writes, do the Emmy rules allow for an actor to be nominated more than once in the same category? That's a good question. I don't know. The reason I ask is that Oscar Isaac has two limited series he could be nominated for, Moon Knight and Scenes from a Marriage, and the latter seems more likely. I honestly, I don't really follow the Emmy rules and regulations nearly as much as I follow the Oscar rules and regulations. So I'll just say, I don't know. I'm going to guess you can be, but again, Orange Hand, I'm just guessing. And you're right. I mean, a nomination for Scenes from a Marriage does seem kind of likely. Okay, next up, we got one from Abhinav, who writes, one of two. In episode 5 of Moon Knight, Steven realized that he can do what Mark can do, so Steven fighting like a ninja, as someone said in the spoiler discussion, in episode 6 wasn't that much of a stretch for me. To me, it was. That made no sense to me. Even with what they said in the show, it still made no sense to me. What bugged me was Kyla, or you probably mean Layla, saw whatever Jake did when he took down Harrow. She would surely talk about it. Also, why doesn't Mark already question those blackouts? There is so much carnage every time he comes back. Well, yeah, I don't know about that. You're right. When Mark blacks out in the finale of Moon Knight, and then he comes back to consciousness and everybody's been wiped out, it seems that Layla saw what happened. So you would think she'd be able to tell Mark what just went down when she looked at him and said, what the hell, Mark? And they didn't even address it. So I don't know where they're going with that. I'm sure that'll address it at some point whenever Moon Knight returns. I don't think we're getting a season 2, but Moon Knight himself will return. So we'll just have to wait. But that's a really good observation, Abhinav. I think you're absolutely right. That is a strange one that they didn't address. Well pointed out, man. All right, next up. Dr. J tips in $20. Thank you, Dr. J, for supporting our channel on that level, man. Hey, team. I can imagine David Zaslav's first day at Warner Brothers. Where's our Superman movie? Why is Wonder Woman always crying over a boy? What's this cosplay crap on CW? Why can't The Rock use the Justice League? Who the hell are the Wonder Twins? Where's my axe? So for those of you who don't know what Dr. J is talking about, David Zaslav, who is the head of Discovery, and of course Discovery just took over all of Warner Brothers. So they own WB and they own HBO and all that kind of stuff, right? And we joked on the show the other day, but it's really kind of true that the axe of Zaslav was quick to fall. They immediately canceled Legends of Tomorrow. They canceled Batwoman. And then that ridiculous Wonder Twins movie that they were going to do quickly got axed. Yes, the axe of Zaslav falls fast. And it looks like he's not taking his time into trying to get everything over there set right, at least particularly when it comes to their DC property. So where they'll go from here, don't know. We'll have to wait to find out. Anyway, thanks a lot for sending that in, Dr. J. And again, thank you so much for supporting us on that level, man. All right, next up. War Doctor 10 writes, "Hey, John and crew. I read the other day that Netflix is being sued by its shareholders over its recent loss of subscribers." Yeah, that was one of our main topics on the John Campea Show the other day. "The lawsuit alleges Netflix violated U.S. security laws by making materially false and or misleading statements to its shareholders and or failed to disclose material adverse facts about the company's business, operations, and prospects." All right, so for those of you who don't know what War Doctor is talking about, so Netflix massively tanked. They lost more than half of their value. They lost $50-something billion in one day when their stock price tanked because a report came out where for the first time in forever, they actually lost subscribers, about 200,000 subscribers. And they said over the next X number of months, they anticipate they'll probably lose about 2 million more. So the stock tanked, which means if you were a major shareholder in Netflix, you lost tons of money. Now, a big group of Netflix stock owners are now suing Netflix, saying that back in October, they were making comments and statements like, "Oh yeah, things look good, things look fine, we're all good, yeah, everything's fine," making some pretty positive statements. So what's happening is anybody who bought stock from October of 2021 up until April of 2022, they are forming a class action lawsuit against Netflix saying, "You lied to us. You represented that everything was good with the stock, and so we bought stock, only to find out you knew all along that we were about to go into a little bit of a nosedive." And so now Netflix's own shareholders are suing them, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, War Doctor. All right, next up, we got Suthius, who writes, "Hey guys, I don't think Jake has a suit. It seems Jake just pops out, takes care of business, and pops back in. Remember Layla was there when Jake took down Hera, we were just talking about this, and his goons, and she saw everything. But all she said was, 'Mark, what the hell was that?' Well, hold on a second now. We are assuming Layla saw everything. I mean, I think I've been assuming that too. We've been assuming, but the reality is we don't know if she actually witnessed. For all we know, Jake came out, wrecked shop, and just as he let Mark come back out, that's when Layla turned her head to see what was going on. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened. I'm just saying we are making assumptions. So that is a good question. Like I said, Suthius, our viewer, Abhinav, anyway, wrote in a little bit earlier, kind of bringing up the same thing. So, but I think we got to be careful not to make that wild assumption because we actually didn't see it play out on screen, right? So I don't know. It is questionable though, Suthius. You're right. It is. So we'll see where they're going to go with that. All right. Loki's Luscious Locks writes, one of two. "Hey guys, love the show. Thank you so much. You guys have been talking about how you want to see how everyday life in the MCU with Khonshu turning back the sky, gateways to parallel universes opening in New York City, and Celestials springing out of the Pacific. So I had an idea. What if Marvel created a social media presence for an average Joe in the MCU so people can follow Steve, the telemarketer or whatever, on his Insta/Twitter/TikTok and get his perspective on current events in the MCU? Thoughts? Thanks, and bring on the filthy." I mean, that's something they could do, but anybody could do that, right? Marvel, you could start a Twitter account called, at Ed Telemarketer in MCU. right? Or whatever. And just pretend that you're an individual who lives in the MCU and you could just put out tweets about stuff like that. I mean, you don't even have to wait for Marvel to do it. I'm not sure it would catch on very much if Marvel did it, but it is something they could do. But more importantly, it's something you can do if you actually want to. So go ahead and give that a shot. All right. Thanks for writing that in, Loki. Next up, Samuel Kirk writes, "Hey, John and Rob," obviously it's just me today. "Did you guys get a chance to watch the first episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds? I personally loved it. It's one of the best episodes I've seen in many years." I finally did get around to watching it. I'm not going to hold back. I loved it. Now, keep in mind, I like Star Trek Discovery. I like Picard Season 1. Wasn't all that big on Picard Season 2, to be honest with you. Even though there are some great moments in it, but I wasn't really super big on it overall. But I like Picard Season 1. Actually, I like Picard Season 1 quite a bit. I like Discovery. But I thought the first episode for Strange New Worlds was fantastic. Like really top notch. This is how good it is. All right. Even Robert Meyer Burnett, who has a religious devotion to hating anything Star Trek after Deep Space Nine. Even Robert Meyer Burnett said, yeah, the first episode was pretty good. That coming from Rob, I mean, that is high freaking praise coming from Rob. So look, this show can go very bad very fast. It's only one episode. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that it's, Star Trek, it's one episode. But I got to say, man, I thought the episode was absolutely wonderful. All right. Next up, we've got Anonymous, who writes, "Hey, John, Rob, and all, just me today. New format looks great. Thank you so much. But I missed the great intro music. Any chance you would put it back?" So yes, some of you may have noticed that the opening of the John Campea Show no longer has the intro music. Here's why. The intro was actually a very complicated thing to do. And those of you guys who are veterans of the show and watch the show a lot, you guys will know there were many times when like the music would play and then it would fade out. And then when the camera would come back to me, the music would start playing again, right? Well, the reason that is because of this convoluted way I set it up in OBS, that the music plays as the intro screen is playing, but continues to play even when the intro screen goes away and my thing comes up. And then you got to remember to go back in and deactivate that and stuff like that. And since fact checker Jonathan Voico is new to running the show, I thought I would simplify it a little bit and just get rid of the intro music. Once Jonathan gets a little bit more comfortable running the show and running OBS, I think we'll probably put the intro back in, but it probably won't be for a few weeks. But hey, man, I'm glad you noticed. Thank you for asking about that. All right. Next up, we've got Orlando Rodriguez, who writes, "I love the show. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. Here's another unwanted show title. LOL. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to your YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is Rhetoric, the best damn movie show on planet Earth." No, I don't think that works for the name of a movie title. It sounds like more like a name for a political show, but thanks for giving me your suggestion anyway, Orlando. Appreciate that, man. All right, next up. Callum writes, "Hey, John/Rob, just me. Recently, I started Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm about 8 episodes into the show and thought it's got to get good eventually. So I guess my question is, when does the show start to get to its peak? Thanks, love the show." All right. So Star Trek The Next Generation is a fabulous show. But it's kind of like Parks and Rec, right? Parks and Rec is either my number 1, number 2, or number 3 all-time favorite TV comedy. But the first season is kind of rough. The first season's kind of rough, which is it's a good thing I didn't start watching it as soon as it aired, because I probably would have given up on it. I didn't start watching it till it was like well into season 2. I would say season 2. But here's a good thing. The good thing is all the stuff that is happening in season 1, it is laying some decent groundwork so that when you get into season 2, it'll have some payoff. Right. But again, as a big fan of Star Trek, The Next Generation, the first season's a little bit rough. But once you get into the second season, that's when it really starts to find its stride. But don't skip the season 1. If you're already 8 episodes in, don't skip the rest of the season, because, again, it's laying some groundwork that'll pay off a little bit later once you get to it. But yeah, you're not alone in thinking the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation is a little bit rough. You're not wrong about that. All right. Next up. Hey guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this video, Harry's. Now take a look at me. When is the last time you saw me have this close and smooth of a shave? The answer is never, because I haven't been using the Harry's starter set until now. Using Harry's, I have gotten the most comfortable, smoothest shave that I've had in years, and that's no exaggeration. And right now, Harry's is giving their best offer to our viewers and listeners. First-time Harry's customers can redeem a starter set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That includes a 5-blade cartridge, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. That's a $13 value, all for just $3. Seriously, guys, why pay so much more for other products when Harry's prioritizes simple, quality craftsmanship at a fair price? And it is time to move on from blades that barely hold up, because with Harry's, guys who've tried it say that their 8th shave is just as sharp as their first. And you're going to have a really hard time finding other competitors that have a satisfaction rating as high as Harry's. And they're still offering a no-risk trial. You don't like your shave? No problem. It's on them. New look, same incredible offer. There's really never been a better time to give Harry's a try. Just go to harrys.com/Campea today and get your starter set for just $3. That's harrys.com/Campea. Ben Lyons writes, "Hey, John or Rob. Every time I watch a new MCU movie, I have to stop myself and think, wow, this started out as a man building an iron suit and has turned into this. Yet it all manages to feel so grounded in the same world. One of the reasons I love the MCU." Yeah, look, I don't know that I would use the term grounded much when I refer to the MCU, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's not what they're necessarily going for. The first Iron Man kind of did. Actually, you know what? To be honest with you, I lament a little bit when I think about Iron Man, because I really liked the Iron Man that these suits he built, right? At some point in the MCU, Iron Man's suits became magic. Like, they're not science anymore. Now they're just magic. Like, oh, magic nanobots and everything like that. Like, which got, to me, it takes a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I love Iron Man in the MCU. I totally do. I'm just saying the one part of it that kind of makes me kind of shake my head a little bit is the fact that the Iron Man suit isn't really all that cool to me anymore, because now his suits can just do anything, right? Now his suits are magic. They have everything. They have magic styrofoam in them that can heal up a wound. They have magic these things can appear and a magic those things can appear. And it's just, now his suit literally does everything. His suit does everything. It's magic now. And I kind of liked it a little bit more and was a little bit more grounded. So again, I'm not trying to crap on it. I'm not, because I do still love the character. Even once we get into, like, you know, Civil War and we get into Infinity War and Endgame and all that kind of stuff. Love the character very, very much. It's just sometimes I wish the Iron Man suit was still had its roots a little bit, and this is something you build. But whatever, that's just me. All right, next up. That was Ben. So we are on to Scott Brown, who writes, one of two. I hated Doctor Strange 2. Well, hey man, not every movie's for everybody. I liked it. I don't think it's a top 10 MCU movie, but I found it enjoyable. I even liked it a little bit more the second time I saw it. Anyway, it was a jumbled mess, and Sam Raimi was absolutely the wrong director for the MCU. Disagree. I don't want this cheesy overacting garbage in the MCU. I thought the acting was fantastic. And a lot of the dialogue was cringeworthy. There was some dialogue in there that could have been better. I agree. It seemed like it didn't fit in the MCU. I thought it did. Even the post-credit scene was hokey. I hated the post-credit scenes. If it wasn't for Cumberbatch and Wong, I would have hated this movie. Well, you already said you hated the movie, right? You hated Doctor Strange. You can't say if it wasn't for them, I would have hated it. I would have hated this movie. I hated what they did with Wanda. It was like they threw Wanda out the window. Oh, you're 1,000% just dead wrong about that. You're 1,000% wrong about that. Even the cameos I didn't buy, because the Raiminess of the score was shit too. Yeah, well, listen, every movie is subjective. That means because movies are experiential events, they all hit us in different ways. The Doctor Strange 2 hit me a certain way. Again, I didn't think it was fantastic. Again, for me, not top 10 MCU, but I thought it was pretty good. And I particularly liked it a little bit more the second time I saw it. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe you are dead. No, you're not dead wrong to dislike what they did with Wanda. That's fine. But I think you are 100% dead wrong when you say that they just threw out what happened in WandaVision. That's not true. Actually, what happens with Wanda in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is the absolute logical progression of what happens in WandaVision. That is why at the end of WandaVision, if you go back to our open spoiler discussion of WandaVision, of the WandaVision show, particularly after the series finale, I said straight out, this is exactly where Wanda is going to go in Doctor Strange. And I said, boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I said, boom is going to happen. This is going to happen. And this is why this will happen. And this will happen because it's very clear that's where this is going. And then that's what happened in Doctor Strange 2. So yeah, it was the absolute logical narrative progression of that. Now, the movie didn't work for you. That's cool. Your impressions of the movie are no less valid than mine. We just have different opinions of it, and that's perfectly good. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on it, Scott. All right, next up. Jay Meister writes, I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but I've been unable to send super chats for a while. Oh, that sucks. And YouTube is no help. Anyway, I just want to say I love Doctor Strange. See, it's subjective, right? We just heard from one person who said they really hated it. Now we're hearing from somebody who loved it. I just want to say I love Doctor Strange too, and I felt what they do with Wanda's character was completely earned. I mean, there you go. We all have different experiences with it. The movie hit us all in different ways, and Jay Meister, it certainly hit you a certain way. Yeah, listen, while I may not be completely in love with Doctor Strange, like I like it, I loved the Wanda character, and I loved what they did with her in this movie. So yeah, there's that. But that's just one point of view, and our friend Scott had a different one. All right, Nate Dogg writes, the two best shows on TV right now are Winning Time and The Offer. Have you seen The Offer yet? I still have not. If even half of that show is true, then it's a miracle The Godfather even got made, let alone that it turned out to be the masterpiece it is. I have been wanting to watch The Offer for months. And then it finally came out, and I just have not had a chance to get around and start watching it yet. Now, Rob's been watching it, and he says it's got issues, but he actually kind of loves it. Right, he was just saying that on the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today. So I myself, Nate Dogg, have not gotten around to start watching it, but I am looking forward to it. And after seeing Miles Teller in Top Gun 2, by the way, guys, when Top Gun 2 comes out, rush to your theaters to see it. It's an absolute blast. I love that movie. Anyway, after seeing Miles Teller in that, I'm really interested now in seeing him in The Offer as well. So haven't watched it yet, but I hope to very soon, Nate Dogg. Thanks for asking. All right, next up. We've got Chloe Fanning who writes, best military themed movie. Pick one. The General's Daughter, A Few Good Men. Oh, it might be that one. Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket. That's great. Platoon is awesome. The Deer Hunter's awesome. Saving Private Ryan or Heartbreak Ridge. I'll even throw in the Army Now with Pauly Shore. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that one's really in the running. I think, listen, there's a couple of great ones in there. By the way, I rewatched A Few Good Men again about 2 years ago. That movie's really good. Like, it's great as a law thriller. It's great as a character movie. It's great as a military theme movie. I love that movie. I'm going to say Saving Private Ryan. That movie just, probably because that's the movie that had the biggest impact on me. Like, I had the most emotional experience watching it. And what are movies if not emotional experiences? But that one had the biggest impact on me. Again, Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. But look, an argument can be made other than In the Army Now. An argument can be made for every single one of the movies you put up there, but I am going to lean towards Saving Private Ryan. Thanks for the question, Chloe. Appreciate that. All right. Frank Salas writes, hello, John and crew. With the new Jurassic Park Dominion coming out, do you think that Jurassic Park movies had more success than Star Wars in bringing the new characters and exposition with its story? Thank you, and bring on the filthy. No, but I mean, here's the thing. It's difficult to say because, like, I personally think that The Force Awakens is fantastic. I think The Force Awakens is the best Star Wars movie that's not in the original trilogy. And then after that would be very close to it would be Rogue One. Now, by the end of the new trilogy, I was completely hating it because I hated The Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, I just straight up hated that movie. But it started great. The Force Awakens was magnificent. Again, I've told the story before, but me and John Schnepp, like our offices were right across the street from the AMC Burbank 16. And so like like, I can't remember I lost count of how many times during a lunch break, or we would have a couple hours before our next taping of something, we just go, let's go see The Force Awakens. And we'd run across the street, go in the theater, and just watch it again. And it's just a movie to me that got better and better every time. And I love the way they introduced the characters, all that kind of stuff. Now, it's hard to say about exposition of its story and all that kind of stuff, because Jurassic World hasn't been very strong when it comes to the exposition of its story. I liked Jurassic World, and I liked the second Jurassic World, and I'm very much looking forward to the third one as well. But I don't know that the exposition of its narrative has been a particular strength of it, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think Star Wars introduced its new characters better, but I have a feeling after Jurassic World is done, this next movie is done, I'll probably like what they did with their new characters more by the end of their third film than I did what they did with the Star Wars new characters by the end of their third film. But as far as the introduction of the new characters, I thought The Force Awakens was great at that. I really, really do. And so, but I have a feeling in the long run, after introducing the characters, they will have handled their new characters better once we see Jurassic World 3. Now, that's just a guess. I haven't seen Jurassic World 3 yet, but I am guessing by the end of Jurassic World 3, we'll say when you take all three films into consideration, they handled their new characters better. But as far as how they introduced them, I think The Force Awakens did a better job. But that's just me. Thanks for the question, Frank. All right, next up. Middy Man writes, my favorite part of the Doctor Strange 2 movie is when Brian and Stewie travel through the multiverse. I listen, they've done a lot of different episodes of Family Guy where they're doing a lot of time traveling, stuff like that. I'm a big fan of Family Guy, and I particularly love when they kind of have episodes that are dedicated to Brian and Stewie as well. All right, next up, we got Craig Berkey, who writes, I went in blind. I didn't even watch a trailer, and I loved the movie. I assume you're talking about Doctor Strange 2. I feel people believing over-the-top cameo rumors are the people disappointed, just like Mephisto and WandaVision. Hey, listen, there is no doubt that, because I've heard from a lot of people, what? There were only like 7 cameos. I wanted like 30. It's like, wow. And that's why I started telling people, guys, it's called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's not called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Cameos. But yeah, I don't know why. Some people they're addicted to just cheap pop. It's like, look, everybody, it's Wolverine. But I'm not saying Wolverine's in the movie. I'm saying, hey, look, everybody, it's Wolverine. Look, everybody, it's Batman. Look, like they just want cameos. But guys, cameos don't add anything to a movie unless they're part of the narrative that drives the plot of the movie forward. And while I don't super love Doctor Strange 2, one of the things I thought they did very well was their handling of their cameos, because they use their cameos, and I talked about this in the open spoiler discussion, they use their cameos for 2 very important pieces of plot that they needed to move along, and their cameos move that plot along. And so it was used very well. So I personally think they used it really well, Craig. Anyway, I'm glad you liked the movie, man. Okay, next up. Capri Grant writes, after watching Doctor Strange 2 and Loki Season 1, I am wary of Kevin's Star Wars movie with Waldron writing. Both Loki and Doctor Strange 2, while I like both, have story and structure issues to varying degrees. I wonder if the response to both is why he isn't heading Loki Season 2 anymore. First of all, I mean, maybe you're right. As far as I know, Waldron is still shepherding Season 2 of Loki. Like, I might have missed something. So I'm not saying that definitively. I'm just saying, to the best of my knowledge, he is indeed still doing Loki Season 2. I might be wrong about that. I will double check. But that aside, yeah, listen, I'm with you both on Loki and Doctor Strange Season 2. I like them both. Actually, I like Doctor Strange 2 a little bit more than I like Loki. But I liked Loki, but I certainly didn't love it and I had my issues with it. But listen, I would rather a guy who has put out some good stuff than a guy who's put out a bunch of crap. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be worse. So, and you know, with Kevin Feige having a more direct hand on it, we'll see. By the way, we don't even know when or if this Kevin Feige thing is still happening. I mean, they say it's still happening, but if they don't mention something about it at Star Wars Celebration coming up at the end of the month, I'm just not going to believe that movie's happening anymore. I mean, maybe they will bring it up at Star Wars Celebration. If they do, great. But if they don't so much as mention the Kevin Feige project at Star Wars Celebration, I am going to officially just not believe the project's happening anymore until we hear something else. So we'll see, Capri. We will see. All right. Next up, we've got King Goris, who writes, my favorite thing about seeing Doctor Strange 2 was seeing the trailer for Avatar 2. Hey, listen, I think for a lot of people, that was a huge pop. Like, there were some movie theaters that when that trailer came out, people went nuts. There were some movie theaters where the trailer came up and there was no reaction. My movie theater that I saw Doctor Strange 2 in, there was no reaction to the Avatar trailer, but to be fair, there was also no reaction to any trailer. It was a pretty subdued audience, the first one I saw it with, at least at the beginning. But I've been hearing a lot of reports from people saying that the reaction was really, really huge. So we'll see. All right, thanks a lot for that, King Goris. Next up, we have JR, who writes, have you seen that Bob Iger has his first ever masterclass? It covers leadership, business, strategy, and risk-taking. Although business management isn't my creative/career specific alley, I feel it's a massive opportunity for anyone to learn from the GOAT. Well, Jay, I'm going to guess you haven't been watching the John Campea Show super regularly because, one of our sponsors is Masterclass. And in our ad spot for Masterclass, we specifically talk about the Bob Iger Masterclass. And I've watched it 3 times now. It's great. Masterclass is wonderful. I love it. And it's pretty great. But, you can learn independent filmmaking from Spike Lee. I mean, if you're into movies, Masterclass is way more than just movie stuff. But if you're into movies, you can learn directing from Ron Howard and script writing from, it's a really, really fabulous resource. And yes, that Bob Iger class is pretty great and very inspiring. All right. Stormin Norman writes, can we get a box office prediction segment for the 2022 movies on the show? Well, I kind of feel like we do. Whenever there's a big movie coming out, I feel like in the days leading up to the movie coming out, I think we usually do make box office predictions. If you're talking about, let's just do a video where we do box office predictions for all the movies coming out in 2022, that would be pointless because you can't really give a box office prediction until you start to see the marketing. You start to be able to gauge how is the audience responding to the marketing. Like all that stuff is what goes into making a box office prediction. So, we could blindly go, oh, what comes out in December? That? Okay, I don't know, 75 million. We could do that, but we would radically change those guesses by the time we get closer. So I would say we kind of already do that to a degree. But I don't know, maybe at some point, on Wednesday shows, we'll actually have like a box office prediction segment where we try to guess the box office for the movies coming out that weekend. So we might implement that at some point. That's not a bad suggestion, Stormin. All right, next up. An anonymous viewer writes, will you ever make more thoughts on walks? It's honestly one of my favorite segments that you do. Great insights delivered in a relaxing, casual way. The answer is yes. I will do them again. I've been saying that for a year, though, that yes, I will get back to doing thoughts on walks. It's been a busy year between moving, and I'm talking about moving into a house and then moving into the new studios. It's been kind of crazy, but yes, I do plan. I don't have a specific date in mind, but I really do enjoy doing thoughts on walks. And so, yes, they will come back, but I can't guarantee when they'll come back, Anonymous. Thank you for asking, though. I appreciate that, man. All right, next up, Scott Brown. Is writing in to complain about Doctor Strange 2 some more, apparently, because he wrote in a bunch earlier. To me, Strange 2 is one of the worst MCU movies, right there with Thor 2 and Iron Man 2. I disagree with you on that. And I'm over the whole multiverse thing. I kind of am too. Also, for a multiverse movie, it felt small. Oh, I disagree with that completely. If we're going backwards to cheesy comic book movies like Venom 2 was really good. Morbius was not so good. And now Strange 2, I'm out. MCU has always had a sense of groundedness to it, not really, that made it seem somewhat plausible. For me, Strange 2 is the Fast 9 of the MCU, where it goes far with the cheese, horrible dialogue, and over-the-top violent deaths in the second act that doesn't fit the MCU. Oh no, that fit perfectly. Like, without going into details, if you're actually following the story, what happened there was right in line with what would be happening. And I personally thought that was great. But hey, listen, again, Doctor Strange 2 is a movie with its weaknesses. Absolutely. To some, those weaknesses will stand out more prominently, like with you. To some, they won't stand out as prominently, like with me. I still enjoy the film. So, and I think it's far superior to things like Iron Man 2 and Thor 2 and things like that. But hey, to each their own. Scott, didn't work for you. That's totally cool. All right, next up, we've got DA Reuse Movie Guy, who writes, "Hello, John and crew. Love the studio. Thank you so much. We don't even have it all set up yet, but we are really enjoying using the new studio. Thank you for that, man. I just watched Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. They made a reference to Doctor Strange's MCU as Earth 616. But I always thought the mainline comic books as Earth 616 and the MCU was a separate universe and not comic canon. Thoughts?" No, they're still two completely different things. Listen, the comics are the comics, the movies are the movies. That's it. They're completely separate things. All right. Now, but in the comics, there's Captain America, and in the movies, there's Captain America. There's still two completely different things. There's the comics Captain America, and there's the movies Captain America. And they are two different things. One takes a lot of influence from the other, obviously, and a lot of inspiration and a lot of story and things like that, but it is still treated as its own individual thing. So just as there is a Captain America in the comics and a Captain America in movies, there is a Earth 616 in the comics and an Earth 616 in the movies. They are still completely different things. And they are separate and all that kind of stuff, but just as the prime Earth that we know as that we consider the real world in the comics is Earth 616. They also name it that same thing in the movies, but it doesn't mean that the comics and the movies are connected. Anyway, good question though, DA. All right, next up. Scott Brown, who I'm guessing is writing in to complain about Doctor Strange some more, writes, "I don't want Raimi to direct another MCU movie ever. I feel like everything wrong with the movie is on him, to the cheesy overacting, to the horrible dialogue, the forward tracking shot after shot, to the horrible Bruce cameo that was so stupid it took me out." Yeah, I didn't like the Bruce Campbell cameo either. I mean, I love that there's a Bruce Campbell cameo. I just didn't like the one they chose to do. But again, I disagree with you. I thought the directing was really good. I love the fact that he brought in the horror aspect to it, which is something that the MCU hasn't really done yet. And I thought he did a good job. I really do. And for a movie like that has got to be ridiculously hard to direct a movie like that. That is a profoundly tall task. And I don't know that there's a whole ton of directors that could have done a better job. But anyway, I personally thought he did a pretty good job. Anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts, Scott. All right, next up. DA Reuse Movie Guy writes, "Will 1:30 Eastern be my new lunchtime to see your show live moving forward?" Yeah, so we have... That is, of course, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So for a long time, for a long time, the John Campea Show was at 9 a.m. And then for a long time, it was at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then when we moved into the new studio, we adjusted the starting time again to 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's Los Angeles time, which on the East Coast, New York and Toronto time, that's 1:30 in the afternoon. So I'm not telling you we're never going to change it again, but at least for the foreseeable future, yes, 10:30 Pacific Standard Time, 1:30 Eastern Standard Time is going to be the start time of the John Campea Show, at least for the foreseeable future. Anyway, thanks for asking, man. All right, next up. We got Kevin Malone Kleenex Shoe writes, "I love your show. Thank you so much. Me and my wife are both physical therapists, at a VA hospital. I've mentioned before how much your show means to them as an escape from their reality. They all refer to Rob as Captain Rob, and I think he's truly an inspiration to them." Well, I'm sure Rob will like hearing that, man. And thank you so much. And listen, I so admire the work. Anybody who works in healthcare on any level to me is kind of a hero. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for watching our show, and thank you for the kind words to Rob. I will make sure he knows about that. So thanks a lot for that, Kevin. Appreciate that, man. All right. Murray Reich writes, "I love the feeling when I'm done watching an MCU movie, feeling relieved now that it's over. I don't need to hide from social media anymore. But damn those YouTube recommendation spoiler videos." Yeah, the same thing happened with Spider-Man No Way Home, and it happened the same with some of the shows as well. That somehow somebody gets the footage from the movie, posts the footage on YouTube, and makes the thumbnail for the post as revealing as possible with the explicit intent of spoiling the movie for people on purpose. And then YouTube, it pops those videos into the recommendation list. So you open up YouTube just looking for the morning news or whatever, and all of a sudden right there in your recommendation list, there's a picture of so-and-so killing so-and-so. And it's like, wait, what? I mean, YouTube's got to figure out a way to fix that sort of thing. All right. And our final question today comes to us from Anonymous, who writes, do you guys think we will see America Chavez show? Somebody was asking me a question the other day. Would I rather see an America Chavez show or an Echo show? And I would take an America Chavez show 99 times out of 100 over the Echo show. I just did not get interested in the Echo character while watching Hawkeye. Whereas America Chavez, I got really interested. I love this character. I really do. I think there's a really good future for this character. I look forward to seeing what they do with her moving forward. But I don't think they're going to premiere her in the movies and then move her to a Disney Plus show. I think we're going to see her on the big screen again, and I will look forward to it. But if they announced an America Chavez show on Disney Plus, I will be down. I'll be down and interested in it. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Mailbag. Now, remember, Mailbag is now a daily show. So again, if you have a comment, question, observation you'd like read on Mailbag, go ahead and use that tip link that's down in the description below. Again, or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll begin your comment or question read on Mailbag if we deem your comment or question, of course, to be appropriate to be read on our show, and you're supporting our channel at the same time. So, okay, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.